Hey guys, and welcome to... Oh wait, hang on, I can take my mask off. Forgot about that. Let's start that again. Hey guys, welcome to Known Day 1. It's so great to see you all here, and a very special welcome to those of you joining us on the live stream. So I'm Grace, I'm one of your hosts. I'm a second year studying law at Exeter College.
Hi guys, I'm also one of your hosts. I'm Jonathan. I'm a second year historian at Magdalen. It's great to see you. We've got a great evening lined up for you. We got a talk from John T. Alcock, and we'll also be having a chat with Monty Lymon.
Yeah, maybe you came along with a friend, maybe you heard something about free G&D's ice cream, maybe the talk title sparked your interest, but whatever it is, you're in for a treat. So I'm going to hand over to Monty now. Thank you. Get my mask.
Just a quick reminder as well, for obvious reasons, please keep your masks on throughout the whole talk. The stewards will direct you out at the end, but we'll give more details then. Monty.
Jonathan.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to be here full stop because I've just come out of an 8-hour-long traffic jam back from holiday in Wales. So.
There was a risk Monty was not going to make it. How do you distract yourself during an 8-hour traffic jam?
That's a good question. My wife was DJ on the way back, so I guess that was.
What type of tunes is she throwing down?
So the last sort of 4, 5, maybe 6 hours was Taylor Swift's back catalogue.
Oh wow!
So yeah, I got
4 hours of Taylor Swift.
An induction to Taylor
Sarah
Swift.
Pickett's like nightmare. Which song did you like? Were you a fan?
Oh, gosh, probably. I mean, the only one I can think of is "Shake It Off."
Shake It Off.
She's not going to be happy
An
with that.
An absolute classic.
Yeah.
Well, when we head to karaoke later on, I'll make sure to put that
Up for
on.
that.
Let's go on with the interview. Who are you? What do you do? What's your work?
Great, thanks. I'm a doctor and a clinical research fellow at the university. So I do clinical work in the hospital, but also research work as well. So I'm about to start my training to become a psychiatrist, but I'm also doing research in the world of immunopsychiatry. So it's sort of quite a new field looking into the relationship between our immune system and our mind.
Very nice. As a historian, that's gone completely over my head, but it sounds very impressive. You're also a writer.
Yeah, no, I love writing. I've written a couple of popular science books. I wrote one on the skin that came out a few years ago, and I've just finished writing one on the subject of pain, focusing mainly on persistent chronic pain, and that's coming out in July this year.
Congratulations.
Well, thanks.
We look forward to it. And you were telling me how last year, actually, you were working on the ward which had the first COVID death in the UK.
Yes, yeah, and I was on the ward where we had the first death. We had a few cases in already, and the whole thing came as a massive shock, as it did across the whole country. I mean, the first few weeks, the whole thing was devastating, but the first few weeks was slightly surreal. We had one of our most respected and loving consultants who had raised the alarm about the lack of PPE that we had in the hospital. He sadly passed away quite early on, and just the mood in the hospital was one of just shock generally, and it was quite chaotic. Yeah, it was a really difficult time. We had loads of really experienced consultants and professors on my ward, but and we thought they knew everything, but they'd now been faced with something that no one had ever seen before, and it was quite scary in a sense.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Let's talk about happier times. Let's talk about your childhood. Tell me, where did you grow up? Do you have any siblings?
I grew up with my younger brother, not too far from here, just south of the river, in sort of the Reading area.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And were you raised in a Christian household?
Yes, yeah, I was raised in a Christian household. I'd say I had a sort of a decent knowledge of sort of Bible stories and Christian things. I was definitely a Christian culturally, and I'd never doubted the existence of a historical Jesus. I knew Jesus as a sort of as a good man. I'd be hearing a lot about Jesus being divine, the Son of God, things like that. But so I would have called myself a Christian, but I wouldn't have have a relationship with God in any sense. I probably saw being a Christian as being a school prefect, and I was a bit of a goody-goody, so I kind of thought, I'm a kind of a good bloke. I'm pretty sorted. So that was kind of my idea of Christianity growing up as a kid.
And talking about school, you were telling me how there is this conflict between medicine, humanities. How did that get to medicine?
I don't know, actually. That's a really good question. It was basically a last-minute decision. I really like science. I like sort of discovering things, but I love humanities. I love writing, and I think in some ways medicine was a bit of a compromise because it is still an art in lots of senses, and I guess that's sort of informed me going into psychiatry because it's kind of more sort of conducive with that. I think I love stories. I love people's narratives. And spending a lot of time with patients and getting to understand them in a sort of a social context as well. So that's why I like psychiatry.
Well, this is very therapeutic.
Yeah, it's like a psychiatrist's couch a bit, actually.
Yeah. And tell me about your time in medical school. You went to Birmingham. You were saying there was a big change for you in the first year there.
Yeah. I in my first year at medical school, I had a sort of a crisis. I'd say a crisis of faith, of everything really. A lot of things sort of went wrong. I mean, one of them was I was doubting as to whether going into medicine was a good idea and was really frustrated with that. And then a number of things happened, sort of the biggest of which was one of my good friends dying in a freak accident when he was 17. And I was sort of angry at the world, angry at the universe, angry at God. I sort of believed that there was a God in some sense, but I wouldn't have said I was following Jesus. And then later on in that year, it's in Birmingham in the hospital, they have one of the largest liver transplant units in the country, I think, in the world at the time. And one of the things we do is we'd be paired up with someone who was going to have a liver transplant, and if they were going to have a transplant, then we'd go in and see their surgery, and then we'd meet them afterwards. And the guy I was paired up with, I met him beforehand. His liver had been sort of destroyed through alcohol misuse, and I just really didn't like him. He was a pretty nasty guy. He was kind of abusive to some of the staff. He was sexist to one of the medical students with me, and I really didn't like him at all. He had a criminal record, and I looked at him and I thought, why is this person deserving of a new liver, a new life? This is an incredible gift. I thought, surely there are people who are more deserving of that. And actually, at that point in my sort of life generally, I was realizing that actually I was angry at the world, but I was also realizing that I was broken myself. I didn't live up to my own standards, let alone sort of any other standards generally. And I began to realize that man who was getting this gift of life, this new liver, that was me. And I became a Christian very shortly after that, realizing what the central tenet of the Christian faith isn't that I needed to prove myself worthy of God and sort of gain a certain number of points to sort of be in a right relationship with God. The heart of the Christian faith is about a man, Jesus, fully man yet fully God, who lived a perfect life that I didn't have to live, and died on a cross in place of all of the wrong things that I'd done, so that I could have a right relationship with God. And that kind of revolutionary understanding of understanding of the human condition, understanding of the universe, it all fell into place. And I was a Christian from then on.
Very different to being a school prefect then.
Yeah, definitely, and much better.
And how did that affect your life throughout university and moving on?
Yeah, in loads of ways. I think at medical school generally, my identity and everyone's identity around me at medical school was exam results, success, what specialty you were doing, where you were going after med school, all that kind of stuff. Stuff about imposter syndrome, like where you were in the pecking order of everything, how many papers you were getting published, and all that kind of stuff. And that all just fell away completely when I found my identity in Christ. I could still do science. I could still look after patients and explore the world, and the world of science and medicine. But I had none of that pressure because ultimately my identity was in Christ as a Christian. So that was a huge change. And I guess as well, in terms of dealing with patients as well, as a Christian, I believe that everyone is made in the image of God. So everyone in some way reflects God's likeness. And that really just colours the way I see all my patients. Especially often a lot of doctors talk about difficult conditions and some difficult patients, but I want to commit the rest of my career to people who have a huge amount of stigma associated with their conditions, like psychosis and schizophrenia and things like that. And I think being a Christian has definitely pushed me in that direction as well. So yeah, basically in lots of different ways.
Very nice. And what would you say it means to you to be known by God?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think one of my favourite Christian songs, Christian hymns that was played at my wedding is Amazing Grace, and the first few lines of it go, Amazing Grace, how sweet, as a grace is undeserved love by God. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. And I really feel that before I became a Christian, I was lost. I was sort of scrabbling around for identity, for status, I don't know. And being known, as a Christian, I know that I am known, but not only known, I am loved. I'm loved by God and can have a relationship with Jesus, and it's incredible, and it's completely revolutionary, knowing that the Christianity isn't a set of rules, it's about relationship, and it makes perfect sense, and has completely changed my life.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Monty. Can we give him a little round of applause?
Thanks.
Monty's going to be hanging around. He spotted the G&Ds earlier.
I heard there was free ice cream, so yeah.
If you do want to speak to him, he'll be just outside. Maybe he'll sing Shake It Off or Amazing Grace if you ask him.
I really regret
very
saying
nicely.
that. Thanks for that.
We're going to welcome up Grace and Jonty now. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. Thank you, Monty. That was great. We've got Monty and Jonty tonight, so dream team. So hey, Jonty, so great to have you with us.
Great to be here.
So we'll just get to know you a little bit. So I've got a question that's quite rogue. If you were a fish, what kind of fish would you be and why?
A fish. I think I'd be. This might be a bad way to start the evening, but I think I'd be a clownfish. Because when I was a kid, all I really wanted to do was run away and join the circus. That was like my big dream. I love juggling, I ride a unicycle, I juggle fire. You have to take that all on faith. I have none of that stuff with me, so unless you provide some fire torches, and I'm not sure we'd be allowed to do it in here, so let's not try that. Anyway, so yeah, I used to love the circus, so clownfish.
That's great, Finding Nemo vibes. I like that.
Absolutely.
I like that. So I've heard you were also a student here in Oxford. So would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, this is slightly scary because I matriculated in 1995, which is probably before all of you were born, which makes me feel sad. But so I was a student here. I studied chemistry. I was at Lincoln College. Oh, I was expecting a
Lincoln's
massive
quite small.
roar. It was an interesting 4 years of my life.
Awesome. Love that. Thank you. And last question, last but not least. So you're here with us for a week in Oxford this week. What are you most looking forward to about being back?
Do you know, I haven't been back to Oxford very much since I was a student here. In fact, the last time I was in this building, right, and it didn't look like this back then, the last time I was in this building, I was standing about here, and I was facing this direction, and there was a lady next to me, and I said, I will. So the last time I was in this building, I got married in this building, about 20, I don't know, a long time ago. I know I don't look that old. It's remarkable, I know, but, you know.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
So, yeah, really looking forward to being back. Really looking forward to been down by the river, back at the scene of some of my greatest sporting triumphs in the Lincoln College third eight, that sort of stuff. But also really looking forward to exploring something of this message of Jesus. Who is this bloke? Does it matter? Is this message that we read of in the Bible, is it something that we should take seriously today? And so I really want to engage with that. I want to engage with you guys, you who are in the room, you who are on live stream, you who might watch this later on. I want us to really engage with this and give ourselves to think and to explore this together.
Awesome. I think we're really looking forward to hearing you. So thanks, Jonty. Over to you.
Great. Well, like I say, so that's what we're about. And I want to start tonight by introducing you to two people. I want to introduce you firstly to Dr. Jekyll. Here is Dr. Jekyll. Not you. Here is Dr. Jekyll, who is a very respectable, upstanding citizen. He has great integrity. He has a great reputation in society. Everyone, when they hear about Dr. Jekyll, thinks that's Dr. Jekyll. He's a great bloke. Great man. But if you know anything of the story that Robert Louis Stevenson wrote, you know who I'm going to introduce you to next, right? Because as soon as I introduce you to Dr. Jekyll, I also have to introduce you to Mr. Hyde. Mr. Hyde, who is a monster. Mr. Hyde, who is violent. Who unleashes his anger and destroys, and people are terrified of him. And the issue is that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are one and the same person. And it's a powerful story about the dark secret that this respectable, upstanding Dr. Jekyll has. And there are countless stories like that. In fact, we love stories like that. Stories of people with secrets. Stories about people who are hiding things. I don't know if you're watching Line of Duty. You're probably far too sensible. Line of Duty came to its great conclusion. It was so disappointing. Came to its great conclusion last night. But Line of Duty is all about corrupt policemen who appear to be one thing but have a dark secret on the other side. And why is it we love those stories? Why do those stories fascinate us? Stories of people who keep a secret. I think it's because it speaks to something deep within us. Because I've got to be honest with you, that's me. That's me. You see, I'm made up of two parts. There is the public part, the Mr. Jekyll part. There is the part that I want you to see. There's the part that I want you to love, the part that I want you to be impressed by, the part that in a talk like this, when I'm interviewed, I'll tell you about my juggling and I'll tell you about my fire because I think it might amuse you or I think it might impress you, and I'll tell you about my sporting triumph and I'll tell you all the things I've achieved because there's this public part of me that I want you to see. But there's another part of me which you don't know anything about because you can't see it. There's a secret. And I hide it. And that's what we all do. We all have this other us, this part of us that we keep hidden away that we would hate for anyone to see. Now, I'm not saying that we all have some dark secret like a Mr. Hyde, something horrifically evil, but I am saying that we all have things that we are hiding, things that you don't want anyone else to see. It's remarkable how much time human beings spend hiding things. One of the adverts I can remember from when I was a kid, like when I was 5 years old, had a stupid jingle that went, keepers, keepers, what's inside those keepers? And the idea was that it was this thing where you could put your secrets, and then you could lock it with this plastic key, and your little brother who came running in couldn't open it. And they were so flimsy that you looked at it, you thought, we just snap it. It's just a stupid little bit of plastic. But it plays to something. We've got secrets that you want to hide, and we want to hide stuff. Now, I love hide and seek as much as the next person, right? Some hiding is fun. I mean, not when you're playing with really little kids. You know, when they're standing in the middle of the room like this, or with a bag over their head, and you go, well, I wonder where little Billy is. Is he under the sofa? And we've all done that. But we all play hide and seek. We're all hiding things. Now, I know that Oxford University is a fine educational establishment, but I have to tell you that Exeter University does have something on you. Exeter University has a hide and seek society, and you don't. I checked the University Society page, and I couldn't find it. Unless... But we're all hiding stuff, right? And we don't want people to see. And we're hiding it because we are ashamed. There are things that I don't like about myself. There are things that embarrass me. Things that I would never do in public that I might do on my own. Now, where does that come from? Of course, you might say to me, well, you know, that's just society, right? I mean, that's just the way society's taught us to be, and we have this weird notion that now we have to hide some things, that some things are unacceptable. But what if it's more than that? What if this hiding reflex, this shame that means we want to keep things hidden, what if it goes deeper than that? Do you know, the really interesting thing when you begin to open the pages of the Bible is that you find an answer very early on as to why human beings hide stuff. Let me show it to you. The Bible starts, now listen, I know that you may well be watching this, or you may be in the room, and you may not believe in God, you may not know what you believe, you may not have read the Bible. That's cool. My job this week is to try and show you what the Bible says, and so that you can understand and think, what, is there something there? That's what we're about. And when you open the Bible, the first thing you discover in the Bible is it begins not with an accidental explosion of a universe, but with a creator who beautifully brings a world into being. And the Bible starts with God making a world and God making human beings. And the fascinating thing is that when God first makes human beings, listen to this, we're told that the first man and woman felt no shame. Do you get that? So here's the deal, right? The first man and woman, created by God, they never had to hide anything. They never had to cover up. They never had to pretend. They never had to kind of delete their internet history or make sure that there was no shame. That's what they were created for. So human beings were created for relationships without shame, without hiding, and not just with one another, but also with God, created to be in relationship with God where we had nothing to hide from God. We had nothing to be fearful of God because he's this beautiful, loving God, and we could love him and know him. There's no shame, there's no hiding. That's what we were made for. But human beings chose a different path. Rather than live in that place of no shame, rather than live in that place of beautiful relationship with the God who made them, instead, they chose a different path. They chose independence. They chose rebellion. They chose self-determination. They chose to go it their way. So they rebelled against God. And the first thing that happened was they felt shame. suddenly they felt shame. And suddenly, this beautiful relationship where there was no shame, now the man and the woman are now to hide from one another. And not only did they, listen to this. Here is the first game of hide and seek. Right? This is why Exeter Society have got it right. Listen to this. The man and the woman and the wife heard the sound of the Lord God as he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and they hid from the Lord God among the trees of the garden. Do you hear it? They hid. There's the first hiding. Why are they hiding from God? Well, because they're ashamed now. They've got a secret. They've got a nasty, dark, dirty little secret that they now want to hide from God. They want to stay away from God. And that's the state that we now live in. We live in a world now of shame because we have turned away from God and gone in our own way. And so we feel ashamed. Now, you may say to me, okay, fine, we feel ashamed. Whatever. Here's the deal, right? There's two big problems with that. There are two reasons why this hiding thing, this shame thing, is a big problem. Firstly, it leads to great fear. You see, when I'm hiding stuff, I am so afraid that I might be found out. So listen to what the man actually says back to God. When God says, where are you? The man says, I heard you in the garden and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. He's afraid now, right? People often say, don't they, God, if there is a God, he's hiding and we have to go and try and find him. I'm on a search for God. Do you know, that's not right. God's not hiding. It's us who are hiding because we're afraid. And there's great fear, and we fear that we might be exposed. We fear we may be found out. I mean, Monty mentioned imposter syndrome. That sense that if people really knew me, if they really knew what I was like, if they really knew the truth, they would reject me. Do you know, I spent 4 years at Oxford University. This is true, and maybe there's someone else in this room, and you've had this same experience. I spent 4 years at university basically thinking there was an administrative error in my application process, and they accidentally gave me a place at Oxford. And genuinely, for 4 years, I thought to myself, at some point, someone is going to say to me, I'm really sorry, John T. I know you've been here for 2 years. It was all a big mistake. You shouldn't be here. You should be at Exeter. Sorry. Do you see? And that's what it can lead to. It can lead to this sense of fear. And I think many of us feel afraid. And we have to keep up an act. And every time you have a conversation with someone and they say, actually, I'm doing fine. It feeds your fear because you suddenly think, well, if they're doing fine, but I'm not doing fine, but I can't say I'm not doing fine because they're doing fine, and that will make me look bad. And social media just feeds this because I get to decide what I tell you about myself. I get to curate my public presentation of who I am, and I get to hide the bits I don't want you to see, and yet it terrifies me that by accident you might discover something about me. Do you see how it can lead to fear? Perhaps some of you are even sitting here or watching this and you're thinking, yeah, that's me. I'm desperately trying to keep up this persona, I'm trying to keep up this reputation, I'm trying to keep up this impression, I've got it all under control. But if people only knew, it's terrifying. So when you live your life trying to hide, when you live your life with shame, there's great fear. But here's the second problem, there's also great longing. You see, not only do I find that I'm afraid, I also long to be known. So I don't want you to truly know me because you might reject me, and yet I do want you to truly know me because to not be truly known is to be alone. So I want relationships where I can have absolute openness. It terrifies me, and yet it's what I most long for. Do you not feel that? And could it be the reason that we cannot be satisfied with a superficial, shallow, fake, superficial relationships? The reason we can't be satisfied with that is because you were created for more than that. You were created, remember, for openness. You were created for no shame. You were created for no hiding with other human beings and with God. So you are never going to be satisfied with shallow relationships. That's what I think is so powerful about that song in the Lady Gaga film, A Star Is Born. You know, the song called Shallow. We're in the deep end now. I want relationships in the deep end. I want relationships that are genuine and true and where I can be honest and open, but I don't know how to get there because it's too terrifying to be honest about who I truly am. You see the issue? Now, having said all of that, what I'm going to try and do this week over the course of these 5 evenings is I'm going to try and present to you a case and make a case that Jesus Christ answers and speaks into those 2 deepest of our longings. The fear that we have and yet the longing that we have. That Jesus Christ has something to say about those 2 realities. And that it might just be that you would discover in Jesus somewhere where you could be truly known. Somewhere where you could stop hiding. And we're going to go on a journey together this week, and it's brilliant you're here this evening. I want to encourage you, even if you can't come every night physically, I want to encourage you to tune in, to watch the live stream. They'll be available afterwards, even if you're not free that evening. You can watch. We're going to build a case. We're going to meet 5 different people who had an encounter with Jesus in John's Gospel, and we're going to see what Jesus does with them. And I want you to see it for yourself. So if you've got one of these near you, grab this now. And with all that in mind, we're going to turn to page 8 in these books. This is just John's Gospel, okay? It's a book from the Bible. John was one of the eyewitnesses of Jesus. And we're going to just read 5 different encounters from this book. I want to show you what it says and see what you make of it. So let's read from the bottom of page 8, where it says Jesus calls Philip and Nathanael, verse 43 there. Okay, this is what it says. The next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip, he said to him, "Follow me." Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We found the one Moses wrote about in the law and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nazareth? Can anything good come from there? Nathanael asked. "Come and see," said Philip. When Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said of him, "Here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." "How do you know me?" Nathanael asked. Jesus answered, "I saw you while you were still under the fig tree before Philip called you." Then Nathanael declared, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Jesus said, "You believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree. You'll see greater things than that." He then added, "Very truly I tell you, you will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man." All right, let's get into this. Okay, I'm going to walk us through it. Okay, stick with it, and we're going to see what happens when Jesus has an encounter with this man Nathanael. I love Nathanael. right? Nathaniel's he's such a great character. And, his Philip comes bounding up to Nathaniel and goes, "Hey, Nathaniel, we found this man Jesus. He's awesome. He's really, really cool." And Nathaniel's response is so good, isn't it? Nazareth, can anything good come from there? Here's where Nathaniel starts, right? Nathaniel starts skeptical. I don't think that's difficult to see. I don't think I'm making a particularly big jump at this point. It's pretty obvious. Nathaniel is skeptical. And his skepticism is entirely based upon his view of Nazareth. Now, of course, if you work for the Nazareth Tourist Board, this is a terrible verse in the Bible. It's like, oh no, don't put that in the Bible forever and ever. But essentially what he's saying is, I'm not even going to look at, Nazareth, what's the point of that? Is anyone here from Basingstoke? Anyone from Basingstoke? Great. It's like Basingstoke, right? I said this once. I got in so much trouble because there was like someone who loves Basingstoke. But it's that sort of thing. It's like you hear of this person, they come from Basingstoke, you say, So here he is. Nathaniel starts in a place of skepticism, which I think you should be encouraged by tonight if you are skeptical about Jesus. I want to say to you, the Bible is very up for people being skeptical, like Nathaniel. And you may have come tonight, or you may be watching tonight, or you may have been dragged along, and you may be watching this because your friend has gone on and on at you about it, and you basically think, Jesus, can anything good come from that? And maybe you've had previous experience with church. You've been dragged along as a kid, perhaps, or you had to go for school carol service. You're like, church, can anything good come from church? I know what church is like. And maybe you've had experience with Christians. You think, Christians, can anything good? I'm not sure about this. It may be religion. It may be all sorts of things that have basically led you to a point of being entirely skeptical about Jesus. Can anything good come from that? Well, here's Nathaniel. He's in your shoes. He's a skeptic. But Philip's like one of those annoying Christians who doesn't shut up and keeps going. He says, "Come and see." And now look what happens in verse 47. When Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said of him, "Here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." Now, you've got to concentrate slightly, but that's weird. Okay, so here's Nathanael in his skeptical kind of anti-Nazareth type vibe, and he's standing here. Here comes Jesus, and the first thing Jesus says is, here is a true Israelite in whom there is no deceit. What a weird thing to say to someone you've never met before. And here's what makes it so weird. What makes it weird is that Jesus says something about his inner reality. He doesn't say, well, here's a very good-looking Israelite, or here's a tall Israelite, or here's a well-dressed Israelite. Nor does he do a Sherlock Holmes where he goes, I can see that you had porridge for breakfast because you have some on your shoe. No, Jesus makes a comment about his inner life. In whom? Now, remember, we were talking about secrets and hiding and stuff. I have my public life. This is the bit I want you to see. Here's my private life. This is the bit I don't want you to see. Jesus walks up and just goes, let's talk about your private life. Whoa. Which is why Nathanael's response is so powerful. Do you see it? Nathanael, he goes from skeptical now to intrigued. Like seriously intrigued. How do you know me? How do you know me? Imagine tonight someone walked in. None of us had ever seen her before. She came into the room and she was talking to people. I know it's not really loud in COVID times, but just imagine. Back in the days when we could do that. And she was talking to people, and it became clear that she knew people's names. In fact, she knew all of our names. That would be quite intriguing, wouldn't it? We'd be like, how do you know our names? And we'd sort of gather around her, be fascinated by her. But then we discovered not only does she know our names, she also knows what we're studying. She knows what college we're at. And now there's quite a big crowd. We're laughing. We're going, hey, what about me? Tell me what about me? We're really fascinated by this person who's just walked in. We think, wow, she's done amazing research. But then it takes a weird turn because then she starts talking about secrets that no one else knows. And she knows everything. Do you see, now the laughter stops. Now people start to move away because now it's getting scary. And I think that's what's happening here. Jesus is saying things to Nathanael that leave him saying, how do you know me? And Jesus' response in verse 48 is, I saw you while you were still under the fig tree with Philip. It's so intriguing. If you've got this idea that Jesus is some boring teacher who's come with some rules, who just came to say, oh, you mustn't do this and you mustn't do this. The first encounter he has with Nathanael is, well, here's a true light in him is no deceit. How do you know me? I saw you when you were under the fig tree. And Nathanael's just like, what is going on? Jesus says, I saw you. And now Nathanael has moved from skepticism to intrigue. Now, you see, the thing is, this fits with what John, as he writes his gospel, wants us to know about Jesus. You see, John is writing his gospel to tell us that this man, Jesus, is someone very special. We're only in chapter 1 of John's gospel. If we'd read it right from the start, we'd already have discovered that John said that this man, Jesus, was with God in the beginning and is God. That through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. And in him was life, and that life was the light of man. John has already said, this Jesus is no ordinary man. This Jesus is the one who has come from God, the Son of God. Equal to God, to reveal God's glory. He's the Lamb of God who will take away the sin of the world. John has already told us massive things about Jesus. And then Jesus walks up to Nathanael and says, I saw you. And what Jesus is saying is not just, oh, I noticed you. He's saying, no, I saw. I see you. I see everything. I see you. Back in the Old Testament, way before this, there's this beautiful description of God. A lady called Hagar has this experience, and she says to God, you are the God who sees me. She was in desperate need, and she said, you've seen me, you've seen me. Here comes Jesus. He comes up to Nathanael and he says, I see you, I saw you. Here's the one who knows. Now, if this is true, it is slightly unnerving, I think. Here's the claim. The claim is that Jesus is the one who can see. Not just see our public, but also see our private, our secret. He can see all the things we've ever thought. He can see all the things we've ever done. He can see everything we've ever looked at online. He can see every word we've ever spoken. He can see the thoughts in our hearts. He sees it. He knows what is in us. That's the claim. Now look at Nathanael's response. Nathanael declares, Rabbi, you're the Son of God, you're the King of Israel. Let me just say, that's quite quick, right? Generally speaking, that's quite a quick move. Skeptical, intrigued, you're the Son of God. Most people take longer on that journey, but some don't. Some actually, when they encounter Jesus, they go, oh man, wow, this is what I've been looking for. And Nathanael says, wow, you are not like anyone else I've ever met. And even still, Jesus is not finished with him. There's still more. Look what Jesus says, and we're nearly done. Jesus said at the end, you believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree. You're going to see greater things than that. You haven't seen, wow, you're impressed by that? You haven't seen anything yet. You wait till I get started, Jesus says. You wait till what you're going to see. And then he says, this is what you're going to see. Very truly, you will see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. Do you remember right back at the beginning when we were supposed to have this open relationship with God? No shame, no hiding, open. Because of human rebellion, now there is hiding and shame. It's closed. We cannot know God. We're away from God in a world of death. But Jesus comes to open heaven for us. The ascending and descending bit about angels is that Jesus is saying, I'm that link. This goes back to an Old Testament. Don't worry too much about this. You can ask me afterwards. But Jesus is saying he's the link between heaven and earth. He connects heaven and earth. And here's what's so remarkable. Here's what I want you to know. This is where I want to land it tonight. When I tell you that Jesus sees you, you might think that's terrifying. Except that when he sees you, he doesn't reject you and hate you. Instead, he comes for you. He comes to rescue you and to love you. And he comes to know you and to deal with those secrets and to sort them out so that you can know God again. It's going to cost him his life. He's going to have to die on a cross. We'll see that later in the week. It's going to cost him everything. But that's who he is. Now I'm aware tonight I've just chucked way too much stuff at you. But that's okay because it's only Monday. We've got time to think this through. But here's the invitation, here's the call. You don't have to hide. There's a way back to God where you can stop hiding. There's a way back to God where you can enjoy openness. God knows every single thing I've ever done, and he still loves me. I can't tell you how much freedom that gives me. He knows everything I've ever done, and he still loves me. That's freedom. That's joy. So we're going to keep discovering this. We're going to keep thinking about this. Thanks so much for listening tonight. And I want you to be thinking about questions. And here's my invitation to you and my offer to you. I will meet with any of you who want to. I'm in Oxford this week, right? I'm staying in a travel lodge somewhere, right? I'm going to be so miserable in my travel lodge on my own. I would love to meet up with people. If you want to meet up for a coffee, let's do that. If you'd rather do it on Zoom, fine. But let's talk about this. Let's check this out and see if it's right. If that's an offer for you as well, if you're watching on live stream. Even if you're not in Oxford, doesn't matter. Zoom, we'll have a Zoom comment. I just would love to talk to you more about this. But keep coming along, keep asking your questions, and let's discover this for ourselves.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you so much for that, Jonty. That was incredible. It really hit me, that last bit, about how Jesus knows all your secrets and yet doesn't reject you. I'd be terrified if everyone knew my secrets. But.
Love that. So that almost concludes our first day of Known. I hope you guys have all enjoyed it. I know I certainly have. But Jonathan, let's say there's some people here, maybe they're really struck by something they heard this evening. Maybe they want to find out a little bit more. What would you recommend?
Well, I'm glad you asked this. Thankfully, this is the first day of Known. We'll be going on all week. Lunchtime talks, evening talks, more interviews, more G&D's ice cream. It'll be great to see you again for the rest of the week. And then even beyond that, Known isn't finished. We have something called The Search. I think we're going to watch a quick video about that now. Yeah, the search will be on every Monday and some Tuesdays after this week. At the moment, it's in the gardens around Oxford, but as soon as legally allowed, it will be back in Costa. Free biscuits, free coffee. What more could you want? A chance to a whole hour of asking questions and discussing the Christian faith.
Awesome.
And in addition to that, if you came with a friend today, or maybe someone from your college, if someone sent you a link and you weren't really sure what was going on, why not discuss what you've heard? Discuss with a friend, grab someone from your college, hop on a Zoom call with some of your friends and discuss what you've heard.
And if you would like to come along to the search, there's a super cool thing. You can text search to 88802, so 88802, and you'll get text updates letting you know what the talk title's going to be and just some information. So if you want to do that now, get out your phone. It should be up there. And while you're doing that, we'd just like to say a massive thank you to everyone who's helped to make tonight happen, from the speakers to the wonderful tech team and everyone behind the scenes. So can we give everyone a massive round of applause? And Jonty and Monty will be available afterwards if you'd like to chat with them, ask any questions. And if you came with a friend, or if you're watching the live stream with a friend right now, do ask them any questions you have. Do chat to them about what you found interesting. And do grab some free G&Ds on your way out. We'll be going out through that door, and the stewards will direct you on how to do that. So that's all from us. Hope you guys have all enjoyed, and hopefully see you all soon.
Please stay seated until the stewards have directed you. Thanks for coming.